Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean. Today I'm doing the Booktube Journey Tag. I think this tag was created by Katie from Books and Things, and I got it from Mariandrea. I will link both of those channels in the description. Let's just dive right into it with question 1. How long have you been watching Booktube? I'm not sure about this, so I will say about 5 years. Question 2. How long have you been making Booktube videos? I made my first video over 4 years ago, which just seems kind of crazy. It's been that long, but yep, 4 years. Question 3. What made you start making videos? Originally, I liked reading book blogs. That was like what we had before Booktube was. We actually had to read articles about books on people's blogs. And I always liked that, but I was a bit too lazy to actually keep up a blog. So eventually I saw that YouTube came along, and people were posting videos on YouTube doing book reviews. And I posted like book reviews on Goodreads and stuff. So I just thought, man, that'd be kind of fun to actually make videos about book reviews. So eventually I did. It's just something I wanted to do for a long while. I always wanted to get into book blogging, and then I wanted to get into vlogging, I guess, and like booktube videos, and I finally did. I just went ahead with it. I took the plunge, and that was over 4 years ago. Question 4. Are there any people who played a significant role in your booktube journey? There would be, but I don't really want to name names, in part because I think some of them are no longer on Booktube. And also I don't want people to feel left out if I don't include them. So what's more been the case for me, rather than one major person who's been a major influence for me, instead it's been more people who came along at different parts of my journey, I guess. And just for maybe a few months, we kind of interact on each other's pages or whatever and give each other ideas and encourage each other and just kind of lift each other up and support each other. And so yeah, that's it. It's kind of more just the little people along the way, the little relationships, and some of them kind of turn into longer friendships or longer acquaintances or whatever, and some of them just kind of quickly drift away and you never hear from them or think of them again. Which is just kind of sad, but I guess that's just the way life is, Question 5. What kind of books do you like to read? When I started, my favorite genre of books was really action adventure, especially political thriller. My favorite writer for a long while was Clive Cussler, and then also I really like Tom Clancy, and then quite a bit of Michael Crichton. But about the time I began with Booktube, I really shifted to reading more literary classics, and especially books off the top 1000 list by James Mustich, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. I like trying out these different books that have been widely acclaimed over the years, classic books, reading them for the first time and seeing if I think they are worth any of the hype that they've received, and also just seeing how these other writers, how these well-regarded writers write, and whether I like what they did or not, whether I think, their characters are good, their plots, their storytelling, what about their writing makes them good, if anything, or are they just overrated now? That's kind of what I've enjoyed reading. Question 6. How has that changed since you started on Booktube? I think what I've realized is that my favorite type of books really are not actually classics, because I tend to be a very critical reader. And when I read these books, a lot of times I think, this is overrated. This is not nearly as good as it's claimed to be. This book should not still be talked about after 100 years, But the books I tend to like more and give higher ratings are books with movie adaptations. And I think part of the reason why is because as a writer, I want to make sure that writers get credit for what they do. So even if I do like the movie more, which is often the case, I'm not one of the people who thinks oh, the books are always better. A lot of times I see why they made the changes for the movie. I think the changes they made to the movie are for the better. And a lot of times with movies, it's a production of I don't know what, 500 people are involved in making this movie. But when you read the book and realize like, hey, 90% of this was the work of one guy, you know? All these great classic scenes, all these great classic lines of dialogue all came from the mind of one person, which was the author. And so as a writer, I want to make sure that person gets credit for what they did, because that's really a major accomplishment. Like, they came up with all of these classic lines by themselves. It was not the actor who came up with those lines. It was not the director who came up with those lines. It was a lot of times the author. And a lot of times it's actually like verbatim. It's taken exactly out of the book. And so I just want to make sure writers get credit for that. So I really enjoy reading books with movie adaptations. Question 7. What kind of videos do you most like to make? I really enjoy making my editing explained videos, just because I've learned a little bit better how to do it, because originally I took video of myself flipping through the book and pointing out all the spots with red ink. But I saw, the footage was kind of shaky and it always kind of made me stomach sick, So eventually I changed to just having images and just talking over the images. And I really enjoy that, just having an in-depth look at the making of my books and what's going on with my writing process, and showing all of the errors I make. I just really enjoy that. The other type of videos I really enjoy making are ranking videos, especially tier ranking videos. And this is something about me. I know probably 99% of people use a tier ranking generator website or whatever to do all their tier ranking videos, but I actually make the background whatever for the tier thing, the tier list, by myself. I make it myself. I don't know why. I just like doing things difficult, I guess. But I really enjoy making tier ranking videos, and I also enjoy watching tier ranking videos. If there's a tier ranking video on YouTube, I click and I watch it. So I really enjoy making those. They are a lot of work. I mean, seriously, sometimes it can take an hour to put together 20 seconds of footage. So it takes a while, but it's fun. I enjoy those. Question 8. How has that changed since you started on Booktube? Do you think your video making style has changed over time? I'm not sure how much my actual video making style has changed. I mean, there's several small things I've tweaked over the years, but really kind of small stuff. I think the main thing is probably just my personality or whatever. It's kind of embarrassing watching some of my older videos, from 2+ years ago, because I was just really kind of camera shy in a way. My delivery was real slow, so I was just kind of talking like this, and it was just really robotic sounding and just slow. And so yeah, I definitely try to have a faster pace now. I think it's largely just being more comfortable in front of the camera and just having a better idea of what to say and just how to deliver lines. I don't know, I enjoy it. Question 9. Do you script and or edit your videos, and has that changed over time? First, of course, I edit the videos. I mean, I probably wind up cutting I don't know what, 40% of my raw footage or so. Just cutting all of the gaps between what I say, and also just doing different takes or whatever. For my first videos on YouTube, I did tend to write a script or whatever, and either I followed it verbatim, or eventually I kind of just wound up doing bullet points and things I want to remember to talk about in the video. But I don't think I've done anything like that for a few years. I just wing it, and part of the reason I do that is because I just know, if there's a pause between takes or whatever, I could just cut it out. So I don't need to really script anything. I just come up with it on the fly. Question 10. What's the most viewed video on your channel? Okay, my most viewed video total is Nibbler saying "Thank you, baby." My most viewed book-related video is a short I made reading the Dune book by Frank Herbert. That was real fun. I enjoyed that. And my most viewed like full-length regular video is, this actually surprised me, I didn't know this till today, was my review of A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. That has like, I forget what exactly, either 500 or 700 views. I think maybe 500, I don't know. I always thought my most viewed video was my 3 by Moores video, but nope, it's A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. That is my most viewed full-length video on Booktube. Oh, in fact, it's right there. A Fine Balance, signed by Rohinton Mystery. I will post that video at the end of this video. Why not? Question 11. What's your favorite video you've ever made? This one's tricky. I think I'm going to say my Into the Story tag, just because I really like the beginning of it, and then also like a third or 2/3 of the way through where I talk about if I was in a horror story. I really enjoy that part. So I think, I don't know if that's my favorite video, the Into the Story tag. I will post it at the end of this video as well, but I enjoyed that video as well. Question 12. Do you have a favorite book you've read because of Booktube? Ooh, I'm not sure how many books I've read because of recommendations from Booktube. The main one that comes to mind is Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson. That is the first Neal Stephenson book I've read. The reason the person suggested it is because I got a signed copy somewhere of Quicksilver by Neal Stephenson, which is on the 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die list. And another booktuber was like, hey, I've never heard of that book by Stephenson, but I really like this book, Snow Crash. That's one of my favorite books. So I tried that book first, and I enjoyed parts of it for sure. But it just wasn't really too much for me. I might potentially pick it up like where I think I left off at some point and, try to resume reading it. But overall, I thought it was an okay book, not really quite for me. But that's the main book that stands out to me that was recommended to me from Booktube. Question 13. Do you have a favorite Booktube experience to tell us about? Ooh. Nothing really comes to mind. If I think of anything, I will post it in the description. Question 14. What does your book collection look like? Ooh, I guess I'll show you guys a quick tour of my bookshelf. I think I'll just show images of it. Up here at the top, we just have some pretty random paperbacks. Here's a mix of paperbacks and some hardcovers, just kind of jammed in there. You could see up at the top there's a signed Nikki Haley book, which I kind of just want out of sight and out of mind. I don't care about that. I don't like Nikki Haley. Another random shelf. Don't really know too much what to say about it, except the main prize here is a signed Gail Honeyman, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. One of my favorite books of all time. Now we're getting into some more hardcover territory. Not really much to say about them. I guess two of the main attractions here are a signed copy of a Douglas Adams book, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and also a signed Flashman book by George MacDonald Fraser. I kind of have really mixed opinions about the Flashman series, but I'm glad I have a signed book by him. Oh, also a signed Madeline L'Engle book. I forgot I had that. Here we get into some of my more prized books. So on the left, there's my Walter Moores collection. Walter Moores is a brilliant German writer and illustrator, and his book, The City of Dreaming Books, is my favorite book in the entire world. There's another couple books squeezed in here that I really enjoy. The red one is The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks. Absolutely love that book. And then there's Tim O'Brien, The Things They Carried, one of my favorite books of all time. Then there's a slew of Clive Cussler signed books, and then Tim O'Brien signed books. And the one on the far right is a signed copy of The Things They Carried, one of my favorite books of all time. If not my favorite book, my second favorite book of all time. Here we have some more hardcovers, most of them signed. Donna Tartt. That's real cool. Hint and Mystery. I'm real partial to him because our writing style is so similar. A signed copy of The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy. That is awesome. A signed William Goldman book, Which Lie Did I Tell? William Goldman, the author of The Princess Bride, one of my favorite books of all time. Super stoked to have a signed book by him. 3 signed books by Brandon Sanderson, a signed book by Robin Hobb, and then just my books. And then here on the left, it's really packed in. I guess I'll have to show you guys this shelf in a few different images. But for the most part, just kind of books that are jammed in there. Not too prized books, especially like on the outer side here, because I don't really care so much if these books happen to get damaged or whatever. Oh, here is one of the coolest birthday or Christmas presents I've ever gotten from my aunt. She painted me this birdhouse, and the roof has all kinds of covers of different books. So there's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, one of my favorite books. Egyptian Demise, my book. The Princess Bride by William Goldman. The City of Dreaming Books by Walter Moores. 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die by James Mustich. And on the side there's a Sean's Used Books stamp, which my aunt invented because she thinks I should get like a used bookstore or whatever, or sell books online or something. So just a really awesome gift. Thank you, Auntie. W.P. Kinsella, Box Socials. He is the author of Shoeless Joe, which was adapted into the film Field of Dreams. Signed book by him. That's real cool. Somebody's Darling by Larry McMurdy. I'm still like midway into reading Lonesome Dove. I've been reading that book for like 4 years. I'm enjoying it, but yeah, glad to have a signed book by him. What else to say? The Key to the Indian, a signed book by Lynn Reed Banks, the author of Indian in the Cupboard. A signed book or 2 by Ransom Riggs. Oh, in fact, I have the first book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, signed. I got the other book, The Desolation of Devil's Acre, first, signed from Walmart, but then at the bookstore I saw we had a Miss Peregrine's signed book, so I got that. One of those Russell Banks books, I think The Angel on the Roof, is signed. There's a couple more signed Russell Banks books. There's a couple signed books by Joseph Heller, the author of Catch-22, a signed book by Buzz Aldrin, a signed book by Margaret Atwood. There's my signed Neil Stevenson book. There's a Brian Herbert signed book, and then Frank Herbert signed book, Heretics of Dune. And then there's not a signed book, but there's a signed photo by Shirley Temple Black, otherwise Shirley Temple, the child actress. What else to say? Ooh, the Fahrenheit 451 there at the top, that is signed by Ray Bradbury. Isn't that awesome? A signed copy of Fahrenheit 451. The main thing I want to say about this book, Awakened by R.E.S. Tidmore, sorry if I mispronounced her name. She is an author who helped me publish my first book or two. So I'm really grateful to her, forever grateful that she helped basically put in, like, format my book, and I don't remember everything she did for me, but she was very helpful helping me to get published. So really I owe my first or second book as well to her, R.E.S. Tidmore. So I think I have a couple signed books by her, so forever grateful. But I am still friends with her on Facebook, and I see her posting about her books occasionally. So yeah, definitely go check her out if you'd like. I'd appreciate that, and she deserves it. She's a real good person, kind-hearted person, and thank you. What to point out here? So just at the very top, Kirk Douglas, signed book by him, the actor from Spartacus, signed Jimmy Carter book. Call of Duty, that's by one of the actual Band of Brother guys in World War II. That's neat. Signed book by Ken Kesey? I don't know. I really liked his book, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This one's definitely a treasure. Disclosure. I don't really care about that book, but it is signed by Michael Crichton. That is sweet. A signed book by Sue Grafton. A few books signed by Salman Rushdie. I think I have 4 books signed by Salman Rushdie, Elmore Leonard, John Updike, Maya Angelou, a signed copy of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. That's pretty cool. Patrick O'Brien signed book Blue at the Mizzen. That I think was his last Aubrey Mateen series or something. It's better known by the film adaptation with Russell Crowe, Master and Commander. So signed book by that author, a signed book by Ed Sullivan. That's pretty cool. Iris Murdoch, she wrote a book. I really loved the first pages called The Sea, the Sea. There's another signed Barry Goldwater book. I also have another one on my to read list, which is also signed. Bluebeard by Kurt Vonnegut, the author of Slaughterhouse-5. I did not really like Slaughterhouse-5. I think the main book I'm interested in now by him is Breakfast of Champions. I've heard kind of readers of his books say that's one of their favorites. This one's a definite treasure. The Good Earth, signed by Pearl S. Buck. That is one of the first books I ever read, so I'm just super stoked. Incredible. Can't believe that I have a signed copy of The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. That is a treasure. Signed copy of Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Patton. Didn't really like it, but it's a top 1000 book. And then it's just a paperback, but a signed copy of A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Isn't that awesome? And then back up there at the top, there's another signed Jimmy Carter book. There's a signed John Irving book, The Cider House Rules. I didn't really... Oh, actually, I haven't read that book. But I tried reading The World According to Garp. I liked like the first 15 pages very much, but then it was just meh. And then there's another treasure, signed Suzanne Collins book. Suzanne Collins, the author of The Hunger Games. So this book is Gregor and the Code of Claw, which I have not read. I've only read the first 2.5 Hunger Games books. I didn't really like the first Hunger Games book. It was just boring. Katniss did nothing but just hide out the whole time. It's just boring. Catching Fire was a much better book. The third book, Mockingjay, I lost interest halfway through and just quit. I don't think any of these books down here are signed, but these are just kind of classic books. And I don't really know if I should keep these, because since they're not signed, it's kind of like they're just taking up space. I don't know. I may wind up just trading these into the bookstore just to get rid of them. I don't know. Because, I mean, what's the point of collecting them? I don't know. I mean, they're a set. They look pretty, but I have books in front of them, so they're hidden. So it's not like, oh, look, they pretty up my shelves. You can't even see them under my shelves because I have books in front of them. So I may just get rid of all of these. Oh, what to say here? Up at the top, there's an absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian signed by Sherman Alexie. On the right side, there's a signed Anne Rice book. There's a signed book by Marco Rubio, who was then a senator. Now he's the Secretary of State. Then there's kind of my presidential autographs on the left. Bottom left, there's Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Bill Clinton. Then there's a signed Margaret Thatcher. Signed Hillary Clinton. Ooh, that one book next to it is a signed Willa Cather book. Signed Howard Cosell, Gore Vidal, Anthony Burgess, the author of A Clockwork Orange, Arthur Miller, William Buckley Jr., Robert Penn Warren, Norman Mailer. And same thing here on this shelf. Just some books, kind of a bit more paperbacks. The books on the top are books off my 25 books to read in 2025 list. And then on the bottom shelf is a collection of some paperbacks and some hardcovers, some of them signed. And again, I have to show this in multiple images. And same thing on the right side. Question 15. What advice would you give to new people starting a booktube channel? I don't know if I would be the one to offer advice because I don't know if my channel is that successful. There's a lot of channels, especially booktube channels, with a lot more success than mine. So, maybe look to them for advice. But what I would say is just try to be comfortable. And I think early on, just, post some videos. And for myself, the main thing was just getting comfortable in front of the camera. that's kind of your biggest hurdle at first, is just to get through with that. So, that may take you, I don't know how long it may take you, but, it may take you 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever videos until you really start to get comfortable and your personality can come out more and whatever. Or maybe you develop a personality if you don't have one as it is. If, assuming you edit your own videos, your editing skills may get better. You may do better with a better microphone or a better camera, better lighting, better delivery, a better backdrop, whatever, So don't really worry too much about early on. I mean, most likely you probably won't get that many views early on anyway. So the main thing I think early on is just to try to get comfortable behind the camera and to begin to put out content that will show people what kind of channel you have. And eventually people will gravitate more, hopefully, to your channel if they like your content. But otherwise, I don't know if anyone should take my advice. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Anyway, that is it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.
2, 3, 4.